Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So, this was actually a movie I hadn't heard of before. The only reason I know about this movie is because I was supposed to watch it with my friends, and then I think at the time they were watching it, I got the time wrong for when the movie was supposed to start. I was actually in the middle of a movie on my own. I was watching watching and then doing a review of the movie Love Bites. And then when I was done, I hopped on Discord and I realized, oh, they just finished Frogman. But I got to watch like the next movie we were gonna do with everybody, so that worked out. But then luckily I was told by my group that Frogman was on Tubi, which I was kind of surprised about. But not that it's on Tubi. It does feel like something that would be on Tubi. I just mean I've never seen the group use Tubi before, and I'm the one that's always talking about it. So that was nice. But yeah, I have Tubi. It's on Tubi, so I watched it on Tubi. And I actually am kind of glad that I watched it by myself, because I'll be honest, I did kind of skip around a little bit. It's pretty slow. It's about these three people that are trying to find this creature known as Frogman. A lot of it is kind of like a road trip movie of them trying to get to the location, and it's also and those parts are, they're like, it's nice to see the characters before everything kind of goes wrong with their encounter with the Frogman, but it's like a bit slow. So I was kind of glad I could watch this on my, even though I missed all the fun commentary I usually have with my group. I think it was fine that I watched this by myself, because I could like skip ahead a little if something was kind of too slow. But I feel like once the characters got to the town to find the Frogman and people are warning them and there's like mysterious things going on, then I was like, not like 100% hooked, but I was definitely more interested, to say the least. This is one of those horror movies. It's like a found footage, or not found footage. It's like one person with the camera and they're like trying to find a creature and stuff. And I've never really watched those kind of horror movies before. But I wouldn't mind kind of going through that more often. Not for like a ton of these kinds of movies, but I don't know. This one was all right. I like that the main character as a kid ends up encountering the Frogman. Well, not really much of an encounter, more like just kind of seeing him, and then as an adult trying to prove that the Frogman exists. The main character is this guy named Dallas, and on this adventure he drags along his girlfriend Amy and their friend Scotty, who's the cameraman. So it's just like three people going on this journey to find Frogman. And then it gets kind of weird, like once they get to the town, where it's like there's people that are warning them like, hey, you should leave, and they think they found Frogman, but then it's actually like some guy in a costume, and it's like very clear that the town is trying to scare them away. And then some of the things I feel like I was kind of predicting ahead of time, though, which I'll give some like spoilers with that. There's this old man character who lives in the town where Frogman's at. His name's George, and he's like the only person who's like sort of trying to help the main characters, and you hear about his like missing granddaughter. And then it turns out that the granddaughter has been impregnated by Frogman, because a bunch of the people in the town are in some kind of like cult of the Frogman, where they like sacrifice these women to be Frogman's like bride or whatever. I feel like I could kind of see that coming, because you hear about the missing granddaughter, and then there's this part in the woods, because I guess Frogman has like weird powers or something, and it's like powers but also some kind of like magic wands thing, which is kind of interesting, where he can like kind of hypnotize people or something. So there's this one part where Amy is in the woods and she thinks she's only been there for like a couple minutes, but it's really she's just been standing in place with her eyes looking kind of glossy for like an hour, and it turns out that Frogman did try to like hypnotize her and stuff. So I thought like, oh, okay, she's probably gonna get like taken by this cult or like targeted by Frogman or whatever. And then as for the granddaughter character, I don't remember what her name is. Yeah, I mentioned she had gotten like impregnated by Frog. The characters find her and she's in this like giant egg sack thing, and she has like a baby, I was gonna say baby bump, but no, that's not what it's called. When you're pregnant, you know, your belly's like round and stuff, and it's like right when the characters find her is when she gives birth. And I'm glad they don't really show too much detail of it. She gives birth to some kind of like tadpole human creature or whatever. I don't remember what ends up happening with it. That ended up being, it's like kind of freaky, but I'm glad it's not too freaky. I was like really worried when she actually started giving birth. It was going to be kind of like one of those in some of the alien movies where there's characters that have given birth, human characters, and it's some sort of like xenomorph human hybrid, and they look kind of scary. I was worried it was going to be at like that level or something, but you can't really see what the baby is too much, so it's not like too bad. I just kind of felt bad for not all of the men. Okay, no, I didn't feel bad for Dallas. He's the one that like kept, it's like the characters are repeatedly warning him like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't be in this town or whatever, and he's telling his friends like, no, I gotta go find Frogman, and like everything bad happens to his friends but not to the main character. Like the Frogman, I guess, leaves some kind of like green ooze in the forest, like on trees or whatever, kind of like sap, and Scotty ends up accidentally touching it, and I think he also just gets like temporarily taken by Frogman as well, and gets like possibly put in its mouth or something, I don't know. And then he goes home, and you think like, oh yeah, everything's fine, everyone's made it home, and that's when like things get worse, where their friend is slowly turning into some kind of monster, some type of frogman or whatever, and ends up going missing, and then Amy gets almost sacrificed. I think most of the movie isn't really like, I didn't find it like scary or anything personally, but the one part that was like a little bit kind of like, whoa, that is kind of creepy, is there's this part where it's kind of showing flashbacks of like how certain things actually happened, where Amy's like wandering around through the woods, and you can see from Frogman's point of view, but everything's in like black and white, and it's like these very fast cuts, and it's the perspective, it's like a monster is approaching, but this time like you're the monster because you're seeing through Frogman's point of view. That was actually a little scary, if I'm honest. I mean, Dallas at least does try to rescue Amy, and he doesn't want his friends to get hurt and stuff. Like, you can tell he cares about both of them, but oof, things don't go well. And then Dallas does get the proof at the end of what he's looking for, but the police don't end up believing him, and there's this part when you're seeing the text for that where it's saying something where Amy's just like sobbing on the ground. I felt really bad for her, and then she doesn't ever talk to him again, because you get like text on the screen as like a sort of epilogue where Dallas basically loses both of his friends, and no one believes it. Like, he does turn the footage that was recorded in the Frogman movie into like an in-universe movie and stuff, but that's kind of about it, really. Like the guy just kind of ruined everyone else's lives, even like complete strangers, by like trying to find Frogman. But he does kind of look like really depressed by the end. I feel like the ending was like a little bit ambiguous. As for Frogman himself, I thought the design of him looked cool. It's like pretty simple, you know. He's like sort of humanoid, got like a frog head. It's kind of a little freaky whenever he uses his tongue, because there's this one part where he's looking towards someone, or like extending the tongue, and the tongue actually hits the camera lens. That was actually kind of cool. Or there's this other part when one of the characters is on the ground in the forest and is just like completely wrapped up in Frogman's tongue, and then whenever Frogman uses his frog powers, I don't know what to call them, of hypnosis and whatever the hell Frogman does, to be honest, it's like kind of cool. I also really like this poster too, because that's the poster that's on Tubi as well, but it looks so small when you're on a TV. But now that I can like see it up close, I like that it forms into the shape of a frog. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I think it was okay as a movie. Like I said, my first time watching these kind of like horror movies and stuff, I feel like it's something I could get into, as long as the monster doesn't look too like cheesy, you know. And then like once you get towards like the end of this movie and you find out what the townspeople are really doing about the Frogman and stuff, and it's like way more of a scary situation than what the characters thought. I feel like that's when it kind of gets really interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.